Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Okay, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pacharya Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Paskati Desatanya. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jiva Radha Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Jai Gaur Premanandi Ki Jai. So let's see. Did anyone do their homework? You weren't there. Okay, that's a good excuse. Anybody else? Yes. Okay. Yeah. That was 2 weeks ago. Okay, go ahead. Did anyone do last week's homework? Okay. So go ahead. Did Arush do his homework? No. Okay. Go ahead. You have a microphone? Read out loud.
Goes through many struggles and later on dies, the soul doesn't go through such changes. It remains eternally blissful and knowledgeable. Point 2. The soul passes from one body to another during the time of death. Due to past karma and the state of our consciousness, we are given a new body. As stated in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 2nd chapter, 33rd verse, there are 8.4 million species of living beings, beginning from the highest intellectual being, Brahma, down to the insignificant ant, and all of them are enjoying the material world according to the desires of the subtle mind and gross material body. Point 3. The soul never changes. The soul never changes. The body, on the other hand, is constantly changing. That the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. This is the difference between matter and spirit. Matter is constantly changing, but the self is constant. Point 4. The soul is imperishable, the body is perishable, and the soul pervades the body. The soul can never deteriorate or grow old. It is everlasting. In this verse, it is specifically stated that the soul pervades the body. How can such a minute thing such as the soul pervade the entire body? It does through the consciousness. The consciousness is a proof that the soul exists. Srila Prabhupada says, any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body, and this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but to the spirit soul. Because it is beyond material perception, one should not believe that the soul doesn't exist. That is incorrect.
Wait a
Point 5.
minute. Because what? Read that sentence.
Because it is beyond material perception, one should not believe that the soul doesn't exist. That is incorrect.
Okay.
Point 5. The soul cannot slay
Wait a minute. Is the soul beyond perception?
beyond material perception.
Okay. Is it beyond material perception?
Yes.
Anybody have a different opinion? Well, what does it mean beyond material perception? So let's discuss that. What does that mean, Krishna? Okay, so it's trying to say that you can't weigh it, you can't measure it, you're not able to measure it in any way. Okay, and so that's called the empiricism. Empiricism means you cannot perceive it with the material senses, right? And perceiving something would be, it has length, width, and height. It has weight. It has color. It has taste. All these different ways of perceiving something, right? But even though you can't do all those things, can you still perceive the soul? Well, Prabhupada gave the example that, you can perceive the soul by understanding the difference between a living body and a dead body, right? Let's say someone dropped dead right now. Well, before they dropped dead, they were living, right? Then they dropped dead. So is there some difference between that person right before they dropped dead and that person after they died? Samart, yes? How do you know that? Okay, but we're just trying to determine, was there a difference between that person when they were alive and then they dropped dead, when they died, after they died? Is there a difference? Is there a difference in the body? What's that difference? By the way, they've done scientific experiments on dead bodies to see if they move after they're dead, and they do. They actually move after they're dead. They actually measured all the movements of body. I mean, they get. That's Well, it works for a little bit after they die, not much. But the body does move after death. It's not that it doesn't move after death. It doesn't, it doesn't run the 100-yard race, but yeah, that's the point. There's no consciousness. That's the difference. So the consciousness, what does consciousness mean, Arush? No. Well, it means there's a presence of a soul, but what does it mean? What is consciousness? Yeah, Krishna has his hand up. So, what is consciousness, Krishna? Yeah, consciousness is the ability of awareness. You know what's happening. You can see Agastya talking to his brother, right, during the class. or his brother talking to Agastya during the class. Yeah. Is that right? Is that right, Advitya? You don't know, okay. Well, I was conscious of you talking with each other during the class. Okay, so therefore, there is a difference between a living body and a dead body, and it's the presence of consciousness. Consciousness means your awareness. As Krishna correctly said, your senses are working. You can perceive things. You can understand things that are going on. Okay. You want to read some more?
Yeah. Point 5. The soul cannot slay, it cannot be slain. It is immutable, cannot be cut, burned.
What does that mean, immutable?
Immutable means like you can't change it.
Yes.
Cannot be cut, cannot be burned, cannot be moistened or withered, is unbreakable and insoluble. So the soul is completely spiritual and is not perceivable.
Now, can the body go through those changes that you just did?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
The soul is completely spiritual and is not perceivable by the material senses. Hence, it is impossible to slay the soul because it cannot even be seen. Additionally, the soul is spiritual, so any material means cannot do anything to destroy it. This means that any harm cannot be applied to the soul either, such as being cut or burned.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Although you can't see the soul, are there other things that people don't see but believe exist? Augustia. Are there other things that people can't see with their senses, but they believe they exist? Yeah, but anything else besides that? Is there anything material that people can't see, but they believe it exists? No, that's not true. By the way, they just showed they claim that they actually have seen a black hole. But anyway, go ahead. Is anything material that people cannot see but they believe exists? Yes, Arush. No, okay. That's what you're saying. The demigods are, they have material bodies, but they can't be seen. But anything else that the scientists are absolutely sure exists, but you cannot see it. Well, yeah, that would be one thing. That would be one thing. Yes, you're correct. Yes, Arush. Magnetic waves. Yeah, perfect. That's true. That's what makes your cell phone work. That's That's what makes telephones, not telephones, but the cell phones work, and that's what makes television work, and radio work, right? Now you can't see them, but they exist. And scientists don't deny that they exist. Yes.
Can we see energy in action, but we don't see energy?
What can you give an example?
I mean, like, I'm running, but nobody can see the energy that's inside me at rate.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's look at something else. But for example, a refrigerator is working. Right? Do you see the energy working?
I mean, I see that the energy is working, but I don't see the energy.
Right. Now the refrigerator, even though it's plugged in, it doesn't work. So what would you assume if you plugged in the refrigerator and it didn't work? What would you assume?
I would assume that it's working, something's wrong.
Anybody assume anything else? Advitya. Huh? What? Oh, you didn't have your hand raised?
Yeah.
Oh, but I didn't need to see your hand raised. I just asked you a question. Are there can you assume anything else about the refrigerator other than it doesn't work? Anything else why it doesn't work? One thing is the refrigerator is broken. That's why it's not working. Is there anything else you could assume? Yes. That might be true. Yeah, it's not plugged in. Anything else? Any other assumptions? Ria, you have any assumptions about the refrigerator that doesn't work? We have two so far. One, it's broken. Two, is not plugged in. Anything else? Okay, we're waiting for Ria's answer. Anybody else want to answer in the meantime? Yes.
Maybe the plug
Maybe the plug
doesn't work.
doesn't work. Okay.
Yeah, like the electricity is like,
What's that?
like the electricity is not connected to like that.
Yes, that's another. Any other assumptions? Yes.
There's no electricity.
Exactly right. No electricity. Why would there not be any electricity? Because what?
There's some sort of power outage.
Power outage. Exactly right.
Or we just didn't pay for the bill.
See, that's another one. You didn't pay the bill. Electricity, there's no power outage. It's working, but you didn't pay your bill. You see, so there are many assumptions why the refrigerator doesn't work. There's not only one, right? So this is what like repairmen do. It's called. It's a process of elimination. Now, let's say you have a car, and you're driving down the highway. All of a sudden, it stops working, and you open up the hood and you look inside, and you see if there's any gas. Yes, there is gas. Then you have to test. Is the distributor working? A distributor is something that delivers the electricity, right? And of the battery to the different parts. So if you see if that's working or not, and then you keep eliminating things, and then eventually you figure out that it's not working because the carburetor is malfunctioning. The carburetor is where the gas and air and a spark mix, and it creates an explosion and makes the piston go up and down. Okay? So you figured that out by a process of elimination. What does that mean, Ria? A process of elimination. Turn it on.
It's the process where, like, you cross out some ways to find the right answer.
Yes, very good. You eliminate things one by one by seeing if they work or they don't work, right? Okay, very good. All right, finish. Go ahead. You write down process of elimination. Go ahead.
The body, on the other hand, can be destroyed. This doesn't mean that one should kill the body without the proper authority. That conception is false. Such offense is described as abominable and can be punishable by the law and by the Lord true. One should exist with the concept of non-violence.
One should, okay. Go ahead.
And then point 6, soul is present everywhere. Living entities live everywhere. This is explained by Srila Prabhupada in the purport of Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 24th verse. The word sarvagata, all-pervading, is significant because there is no doubt that living entities are all over God's creation.
So what does that imply? Like, for example, some people say, nobody lives on the moon.
That means,
What would you say?
well, souls are all-pervading. That means the souls live all over the universe.
Yes. So do you think, based on that statement, do you think there are people that live on the moon?
Yeah.
Do they think they're made out of cheese?
No.
Huh?
No.
No. What are they made out of then? That means if they're people, that they must have a body. So what do you think the body is made out of?
Flesh.
No, not necessarily. Okay, what are the 5 basic material elements?
Earth, water, air, ether, fire.
Earth, water, fire, air, and ether.
Ether.
Right? So what are the bodies of people made out of on the earth? Here.
Those 5 elements.
I know. What's the main element?
Earth,
Water.
water,
Yeah. Second element is earth.
earth.
And there's some fire, there's some air, and there's space. So what is the main element on the moon that the bodies are made out of?
Ether?
No.
Ether?
No. Okay, so what are the 8 fundamental elements? You have 5 gross and 3 subtle. What are the subtle material elements?
Intelligence, mind, and false ego.
Okay. So the bodies on the moon are mainly made out of mind. Right. So can you see your mind right now?
No.
Yeah. Can you see your intelligence right now?
No.
Can you see your false ego?
No.
So it's something that exists, again, that you can't see. So now does it make sense that when they claim they go to the moon and they didn't see anyone there?
Yeah, because they can't see the mind,
Yes.
so they can't see the living
You
entities.
see, there are a lot of things you can't see, right? But you can't deny that it exists. Right? Okay. Go ahead, finish.
They live on the land, in the water, in the air, within the earth, and even within fire. The belief that they are sterilized in fire is not acceptable, because it is clearly stated that here the soul cannot be burned by fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the...
So what does that mean?
What?
Does that mean there's souls in fire? They're living entities in fire?
Yes, it means that therefore there's no doubt that there are living entities also on the sun planet with sustainable, suitable bodies to live there.
You see? On the sun planet, there are people also. But the main element of their body is fire, which is a gross material element. This becomes interesting, isn't it? Go ahead. Now, if you are transferred to the sun, would you be able to see any of the people on the sun? Arush? No. Would you be able to exist on the sun with your present body? No, you would burn up. But there are living entities that live in fire, even on the earth, here. Does it say that?
It doesn't say on here. But it says, but if it says that, it says at the end that if the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless.
Okay, so that is what you would call deductive logic. How does he deduct? How does Prabhupada in his purport deduct? That's in from the purport, right? It's not in the verse.
Yeah, it's from the purport.
How does he deduct that there must be people on the sun?
So using
Wait a minute. Augusta, you have any idea? Did you hear what she said, right? Yeah. Why don't you read it again for Augusta? Listen carefully, Augusta.
If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless.
Where does the word sarvagata come from?
It's from that verse, 2.24.
It's in that verse, okay. So, we're starting from that verse, this phrase, sarvagata. Now, use your deductive reasoning, Augusta. Wait a minute, take the microphone. Advitya is in charge of the microphone.
So he used the verse to explain other things.
What can you give an example?
Like
And what? And at the same time, tell us what is deductive reasoning. Go ahead. There's deductive reasoning. There's inductive reasoning. Remember, we discussed these things.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Anybody know what is deductive reasoning? Krishna, do you know what deductive reasoning is? You don't? No. Oh my God. Okay. In order to learn what deductive reasoning is, stand up right now. If you don't know what it means, stand up. So Agastya doesn't know. Krishna doesn't know. Does Arush know? Advitya doesn't know. Riya doesn't know. And Arush, you know? Huh? Process of elimination? No. It's something else. Okay. Samarth, you know? Deductive reasoning. No. Stand up. Yes, Shrestha. Okay, give her the microphone. Okay, she's going to explain now what deductive reasoning is. After you hear it, then you have to all repeat after her, and then you can sit down again. And if you don't repeat, you have to keep standing up. Okay.
So deductive reasoning is where you use an accepted law or statement, and you use that to make a conclusion about something. So Srila Prabhupada is using the verse, and he's using the verse as his evidence to say that if the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless. So he's deducting that because the verse says sarvagata, that means that there must be souls living on the sun planet.
Okay, and this is called spiritual deductive reasoning. Spiritual deductive. Okay, now Agastya, can you explain what deductive reasoning, spiritual deductive reasoning is? give Agastya the...
So basically, it's when you use one piece of evidence from like a verse, like something that's trusted.
From what?
From like a verse or something.
From what?
A verse,
What verse?
like any verse. You take like,
Any verse?
like
Let's
in
say
the,
you take a verse from Harry Potter.
like
Can
from
you
a,
use that for deductive reasoning?
no, from
So
a
what verse then?
like a spiritual source, like
What
Bhagavad
if the source is, let's say the Church of Atheism? Can you take a verse from their Bible?
a Krishna conscious book by Srila Prabhupada.
Ah, okay. Vedas, from the Vedas, right?
And then you take one piece of like trusted evidence, and then you use that to prove something else.
No, you don't prove something else. You use that to deduct. What does deduct mean? Is it a duck, like a D-U-C-K?
No.
There is D-U-C-K in the word deduct. What is it then? Deductive reasoning. Give me an example.
Like how Srila Prabhupada did with... What was the word?
Okay, let's take a statement and then deduct from it. The statement is, all men are mortal. Can you deduct something from that about yourself?
It says that all men are mortal, so that I'm a man, so that means I'm mortal, so I'll die eventually.
Yeah, exactly. That's deductive reasoning. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain how Prabhupada used deductive reasoning to know that there must be some living entities on the sun, planet?
Can we repeat the verse and the thing?
Yeah, Sarvagata. Which verse is that? I forget.
Oh, that means Sarvagata means all living entities.
No, it means, yeah, but it means that there are living entities on every planet. It's the second chapter. Let me read the verse. It's a very good verse to know. If you ever have a science class and they tell you nobody lives on the sun, so then you can say, I beg to differ, dear teacher, dear demoniac teacher. Well, she might not be a demon, or he might not be a demon. But, okay, so it is verse, second chapter, verse 20. Four. Achedyo yamadayo yama kledyo sosya evacha nitya sarva gata stanur achalo yam sanatana. So it says, this individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. So what does Sarvagata mean? He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. What does Sarva mean in Sanskrit?
Sarva. I don't know. All.
And Gata.
Pervading.
Yes, very good. Very, very good. So now, how does Prabhupada deduct that there must be living entities on the sun?
It says all pervading.
Which means?
Everyone living, like everywhere living. Basically.
Yeah, that means that there are souls everywhere in the universe.
Yeah.
On all the planets. Okay, good. Can you sit down now, Arush, or you want to explain how Prabhupada can deduct from this verse, second chapter, 24th verse, that there are souls everywhere. Go ahead. Is deduct mean a duck? Is it a duck? No, what does it mean? You start with a statement where? In Harry Potter?
No, in
Where?
the Vedas.
In the Vedas, right? And you deduct, meaning if it says the souls are all pervading, what does that mean?
Souls are everywhere in the whole universe.
Exactly right. Thank you. Okay. So the question is, how does Prabhupada deduct that souls are everywhere?
So he used a verse from like the Vedas or Bhagavad Gita that's trusted and has been used for
That what?
that has been used for a long time.
No, but how does he deduct? It doesn't say in the verse specifically that there are living entities on the sun. So how does he deduct that there must be living entities on the sun?
Because in the verse it says that Sarvagata, that means like there are souls everywhere.
Yes, that means there must be on the sun also.
Mm-hmm.
That's called spiritual deduction. Ria, you want to explain it? You can sit down. What was your name again? What was your name again?
Ritika.
What?
Ritika.
Ritika, okay. So how does Prabhupada deduct? First of all, does deduct mean there's a duck?
No.
What does it mean? You start with what? A statement in Harry Potter?
No.
Where?
A verse from the Vedas or Bhagavad Gita.
So speak into the Bhagavad Gita, into the microphone so I can hear you.
A verse from the Vedas or Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. So what verse are we talking about? Second chapter, 24th verse.
Second chapter, 24th verse.
And what does it say there?
Living beings are everywhere and even on like different planets.
Well, it doesn't say they're on different planets. It says everywhere in material
Everywhere.
creation.
Yeah.
So Prabhupada deducts means if this is true, then this other thing has to be true. What is that other thing? Speaking specifically about the sun, if there are souls everywhere in material creation,
Yeah.
then you can deduct, you can reason that they have to be also
They can also be on the sun and
exactly
everywhere
right.
else.
Okay, you can sit down. Advitya. How did Prabhupada deduct that there are living entities on the sun? And by the way, does deduct mean it's a duck? No. What
No.
does it mean?
It means like
You can begin with what? Harry Potter?
with the Vedas or Bhagavad Gita.
Yes. And what does it say in verse 224?
Souls can be everywhere.
So what can you deduct? What can you reasonably assume to be
That
true?
they can also be on like the sun.
Okay, you can sit down. Very good. Samarth, how did Prabhupada deduct that there are
So-
souls on the sun?
So from 2.24 in the Bhagavad Gita, it says Sarvakata, which means all pervading. So Prabhupada,
What's all pervading?
All
Harry
pervading.
Potter?
No, it's from the Vedas. And
What's all pervading?
it means like
What is it talk? What are we talking about?
the soul
Yes.
is all pervading.
Yeah.
So-
Souls are all pervading.
Yeah, so Prabhupada can deduct that the soul can be on the sun
There must be.
Yeah, it must be.
Even though the scientists say they are not.
Yeah.
Very good. You can sit down now. Okay, next time you don't know a question, you have to stand on your head till you understand. Okay, so listen carefully from now on, unless you want to do headstands in the temple. Okay, finish. So from now on, can you deduct Advitya? You go quack quack. Is that what you do? No, you use your reasoning based on statements in. Very good. Go ahead.
So then I listed the 20 specific qualities of the soul that are mentioned through all the verses.
Okay.
So number 1, invisible. Number 2, inconceivable. Number 3, immutable. Number 4, can't be burned. Number 5, can't be dried. Number 6, unbreakable. Number 7, insoluble. Number 8, everlasting. Number 9, all-pervasive. Number 10, unchangeable. 11, immovable. 12, eternal. 13, cannot be cut. 14, cannot be withered. 15, it accepts the material bodies. 16,
What?
it accepts material bodies.
Yes.
16, unborn. 17, cannot slay. 18, cannot be slain. 19, is immeasurable. 20, pervades the entire body.
Okay. When it says it's inconceivable, what does it mean? Krishna. Yeah, exactly. But you can perceive it. You can't conceive it. In other words, you can't measure it, see it, taste it. But you can understand that it exists. How? How do you use your mind? Yeah, but how can you can't conceive it, meaning you can't measure it. But you can perceive it. How do you perceive it? Yeah. Go ahead. How? No, that's not perceiving. Perceiving is understanding something. And also, in a sense, seeing it too. But you see it by its symptoms. Yes.
Perceive the soul when you understand the difference between a living body and then a dead body.
What did she say, Krishna? What did she say? Yeah, what did she say? Huh? She said what? You don't know. You were just here. She just said it. Huh? What did Agastya tell you to say? Well, I don't think you're going to stand on... You know how to stand on your head? Okay. No, what did she say? Look, we said you can't conceive the existence of soul. That means you can't measure it, you can't taste it, right? But can you perceive it? Meaning you can see it by some symptoms. What are the symptoms? Come on, think. I mean, you already answered this before. You're not thinking. Huh? No, okay, Chris, just listen carefully now what she says. How do you perceive it? You can't conceive it, you can't measure it, etc. How do you perceive it?
So you can perceive the soul by understanding the difference between a living body and a dead body, because the living body has a consciousness, and the dead body doesn't have a consciousness. And a consciousness is the symptom of the soul.
You got that? Do you know the difference between conceive and perceive? Let's look these words up in the dictionary. Make sure I'm not saying something that's wrong. Okay, so conceive. Oh, where's that? Sorry, well, mixed up here. Okay, conceive. Become, no. Form or devise a plan or idea in the mind. Let's see if there's any other meanings, more definitions. Form a mental representation of or imagine. What does the word conceive? To conceive is to come up with an idea. An idea is something called a seed, or the seed of an idea. And conceive means to produce something from inside the mind. Okay, so that's not the right word. So I misused it. Okay, let's look what perceive means. Perceive is to become aware of something directly through the senses. Okay. So I got it backwards. So you can not perceive the soul, but you can conceive it. So what does that mean? Perceive means that you can see it through the senses. Perceive. Perception. Conceive means that you can get the idea of it. How do you get the idea of it? See, this is why we have to look up words so we don't misuse them. Even I make mistakes. Right? English is very precise language. So how do you conceive of the soul, Krishna?
By the difference of a living and dead body, like a dead body has no consciousness, and that you can perceive that there is no soul, and the living body does have consciousness.
Well, what led you to try and conceive of the presence of the soul? Well, you were not able to perceive it with your senses, but you're able to conceive it because you compared a living body to a dead body, and now you have the idea that the living body must have something that the dead body doesn't have, and the Vedas say that's consciousness. So you're using the Vedas again, but you're also conceiving based on the difference between a living body and a dead body. Okay? All right. Without the Vedas, you wouldn't know it's a soul. But the Vedas, but you know, you're trying to conceive what it is between a living body and a dead body, and the Vedas say it's a soul. The soul that's present in the body. Therefore, there's consciousness. So, you, first of all, realize that that there's a living body and dead body, and there's some differences. You perceive that there are differences. Now you're trying to figure out what is that difference. But because you read the Bhagavad Gita, you conceive now the idea that there must be a soul in the living body and no soul in the dead body. Got it? So conceive means it's an idea that you develop. And perceive means you can see something with your senses. Good. Okay, so today's lesson is about, so we finished our homework. You finished reading? Okay, so today's lesson is about developing a worldview. Write this down. World, W-O-R-L-D, view, V-I-E-W. Anybody know what worldview means? We've discussed this before, but it was some time ago. A worldview. Yes. How do you say your name again? Ritika. Okay. Ritika. Ritika. Okay. Yes, in a general sense. We're gonna nail it down a little bit more definitely. But in a general sense, that's true. Yes. Yeah.
How do you understand the entire world based on
Based
how
on
based on politics, like economics,
politics?
economics, and like other like levels?
Not exactly. Ritika said correctly, it's how you see the world, right? But now we want to go a little further. It's all about an individual's perception of the world, how they perceive the world. Now, perceive means how you see through your senses, right? But there are more ways of seeing besides the senses. Yes, Prabhu. Exactly right. Exactly right. You can also see through Shastra, not only through your senses. Okay, so a worldview, this is like a definition of it, is a compilation of an individual's perception of the world. It's essentially the way a person understands the world. So there are different worldviews. There's the communist worldview, there's the atheist worldview, there's the Krishna conscious worldview, there is the Christians' worldview, there is the Muslims' worldview. There are many worldviews. Okay, now we're going to discuss different worldviews and then try and understand what is the Krishna conscious worldview. Jai Shri Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai.
यशोमती नंदन ब्रजवरनागर गोकुल रंजन काना यशोमती नंदन ब्रजवरनागर गोकुल रंजन काना कालिय दमन विदाना आमल हरिनाममिय विलासा आमल हरिनाममिय विलासा विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बोर बंसी बदान सुवासा ब्रजजन पालन सुरकुल नासन ब्रजजन पालन सुरकुल नासन नंद गोदन रखवाला गोविंद माधव नवनीत तास्कर गोविंद माधव नवनीत तास्कर सुंदर नंद गोपाल जमुना तट चर गोपी वसन हर रस रसिक कृप मोया श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर भक्ति विनोद शाया यशोमती नंदन ब्रजभर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना जयो राधा नीला माधव राधा नीला माधव राधे जयो राधा नीला माधव राधा नीला माधव श्री राधे जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो सीताराम जयो सीताराम जयो सीताराम जयो लक्ष्मण हनुमान
homework for next week is to write down what your worldview is. You got that, Advitya? Huh? What did I just say? Write down what you want for Christmas, right? Is that the homework? What's your homework? Write down what? You can look over your brother's shoulder. Go ahead. What's your brother writing down? What is he writing? Write down what? Yes? Where's the microphone? There it is, over there, over there. What is your brother writing down? Go ahead.
Write down what your worldview is.
Ah, correct. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to discuss a little bit about worldview, and then you should also write, second part of your homework is write down what the atheist worldview is. Okay, so there are three fundamental questions that you have to answer when you're dealing with a worldview. Maybe there's more than three, but we'll just deal with three. So write down what these three questions are that are necessary to answer to form a worldview. Question number one, where did we come from? And why are we here? Did we come from monkeys and we're here to play the rest of our life on jungle bars? That's one worldview. We come from monkeys. Basically, we're only monkeys. And our goal in life is to play on jungle bars. You know what jungle bars are, Arush? Huh? Oh, they call them monkey balls? Oh. Do you have any monkey bars in your school? Yes? Okay. That's for the people that have the worldview that we all come from monkeys. They go and play in the jungle bar, or the monkey bar. Okay. So number one, where did we all come from and what is our purpose in life? Or why are we here? Where did we come from and why are we here? Okay? Where did we come from and why are we here? No, it's part of question one. Where did we come from and why are we here? You got that, Advitya? Okay, but you have ears, right? I see two ears there. So why are we here? Right? Is that the second part of the question one? Yeah. And then number two. Is there something wrong with the world as it is today? And, in other words, you'd have to say what it is. Number three. Can what it is that's wrong with the world be fixed? Can what it is that's wrong with the world be fixed? Okay, so we have three questions that we need to answer in order to figure out what your worldview is. Right? So the different worldviews answer these three questions. The atheist worldview answers these three questions. The Krishna conscious worldview answers these three questions. The Christian worldview answers these three questions. The Muslim worldview answers these questions. The nonsense worldview answers these questions. So, okay, so now we'll discuss this a little bit, and then we'll adjourn. Oh, we have one question we have to answer. Do you want to have one class during the week? Yes or no? Anyone who doesn't want, raise their hand. What? You don't want it?
But I wanted to fit my schedule.
Huh? Okay, one person doesn't want it, right? You don't want it, okay. Every day? Okay. But you're in a minority. You're in the minority. So, okay, I didn't ask the question. Anybody want to have a class during the week? Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Fridays. Well, we have 5 days to do it, so Friday is one possibility. Evening. Well, yes, not everyone comes to it. So we have to decide if that's when. Yeah. So Ritika, you have after school on Friday? What? Yeah, but is it in the evening? The sports is in the evening? Like 7:30 at night? Okay. All right, so then it would be possible on Friday nights. Is that possible? Is that possible for everyone? Everyone except Ritika. Huh? Well, we might change it to worldview class. That's part of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, who wants to do Friday evening as a second class, or the third class during the week? What?
I'm pretty sure I'm fine with any time on Friday after 4.
Then raise your hand. Okay. Advita. You have 5 days to do your homework. No, but Friday we're just going to review the homework from Sunday. So you start fresh Saturday. No. Yeah. Okay, so it's possible Friday. Unless there's some program going on. All right. So now you have your homework. So let's discuss this a little bit. Okay, we're going to... we'll discuss the Christian worldview. Now, just to give you an example, okay? Oh no, actually, we'll discuss what's called a naturalistic or atheistic point of view. So, number one, where did we come from? So the naturalist, which is called a euphemistic word for atheist. What does euphemistic mean? Okay, euphemistic. Means using or of the nature of a euphemism. Okay, so euphemism. A mild or indirect word or expression substituted for one considered to be too harsh or blunt when referring to something unpleasant or embarrassing. So instead of saying atheistic point of view, you say naturalistic point of view. You got it? No? No, atheistic like has some negative connotations to it, right? Atheist means someone who doesn't believe in God, right? Who negates the existence of God. But naturalistic means it's natural. It's okay. It's not bad. It's, part of nature. They're very smart, aren't they? So it's a euphemism for atheistic. EUPHMISM. EUPHMISM. This is a $1,000 word. It's worth $1,000 if you use it in your language. Euphemism. EUPHMISM. You know, if a friend of yours says, "Well, I'm an atheist," you say, No, you should say you're a naturalist. It's more euphemistic term. You say, what did you say? How did you say that? What does that mean? You say, huh? Euphemism is an indirect way or mild way of saying something or replacing a word that is harsh and embarrassing, right? Like, for example, instead of using the word genocide, which means one country tries to eliminate an entire race of people, right? You use the word transfer of population. So transfer of population is a neutral sounding thing. It just means you move people from one place to another. But it so happened that in the genocide, everyone that was moved from one place to another died, was killed, right? But you don't get that idea in transfer of population, So that's a euphemistic way of saying genocide. So euphemism is an indirect or mild word that substituted for one that's considered to be harsh or blunt or is referring to something unpleasant or embarrassing. So instead of saying, oh, he did pee in his pants, you say, oh, he did wee-wee. So wee-wee, it doesn't sound as bad as, he did pee in his pants. So he just did wee-wee, That could mean anything, right? So these are euphemisms. Okay, so this is a $1,000 word. If you use this when you're speaking, people say, Krishna, where did you get that word from? You're an idiot. You don't use words like that. Okay? All right, so now the naturalist point of view, that's a euphemism for atheists' point of view, is that we are the result of purposeless acts of nature. What does that mean? Human beings are the result of purposeless acts of nature. What does that mean, Ria? What does it mean? What do you think it means? Give her the microphone. Purposeless acts of nature. Does that mean God did it? Speaking in the microphone, yes or no. You don't have to explain anything. Just say yes or no. Does that
No.
mean God did it? Huh?
No.
Correct. Okay. Now, what does it mean, though? Purposeless acts of nature. What? What? Any idea, Ria? Okay, give the microphone to Krishna. What does that mean? Purposeless acts of nature.
Purposeless, non-purposeful acts of like nature does not purposeful acts. So basically, nothing is controlling nature. That's what that statement.
Well,
It's
okay.
confused.
What would you describe as a purposeless act that you do?
A not purposeful act that I do.
Yeah. Can you give an example of one? A purposeless act that you have done.
Purposeless act without a purpose.
Speak into the microphone.
I don't understand that well. It's
So,
so
is there
confusing.
anything that you've done that was purposeless?
Had no purpose.
Okay, now let me ask you another question. Why are you having difficulty answering that question?
Because the statement seems confusing to me a little bit.
No, it's nonsense. Obviously, there's always a purpose to what you do, right?
Yeah.
The purpose might be nonsense, but there's a purpose, right?
Yeah.
Now, how would nature perform a purposeless act? First of all, does nature act on its own?
No.
Yeah, that's the whole point. So there's no such thing as a purposeless act of nature. The whole thing is made up. There's a statement in English. It's a non sequitur. Non sequitus. This is a Latin term that's used in English. Let's see what that means. Non sequitur means a conclusion or statement that does not logically follow from the previous argument or statement. Write this down. This is another $1,000 word. If you use this in your vocabulary, people are like, oh, gosh, yeah. Ooh, where did you learn that word? I don't know. I've never even heard that before. You know. N-O-N S-E-Q-U-I-T-U-R. N-O-N-S-E-Q-U-I-T-U-R. It's a Latin word that has come into the English language. Okay, you got it? Non sequitur. It means a conclusion or a statement that does not logically follow from the previous argument or statement. His weird mixed metaphors and non sequiturs. This is an example of it. So, someone says that nature performs purposeless acts. Yes. The spelling? Okay. A conclusion or statement. A conclusion or statement that does not logically follow from the previous argument or statement. Like, for example, Advaita might say, I was eating an ice cream cone, and I was sure God doesn't exist. Okay, so I was eating an ice cream cone, and I was sure God doesn't exist. after eating the ice cream cone. So, does that follow logically from I was eating an ice cream cone? And I became sure God doesn't exist, right? And that doesn't follow, right? It's nonsense. So, to say that nature performs purposeless acts is nonsense. On what basis do you say nature performs purposeless acts? Does nature act on its own? Does anything act on its own? Like, for example, people say God doesn't exist. And there's no God behind creation. Do you know of any machine that created itself and is acting on its own? Huh? You know any machine, Advitya, that's created itself and is acting on its own? No. Right? So how would nature, which is functioning like a machine, create itself and then make purposeless acts? How can it act on its own? First of all, it didn't make itself. And then how can it act on its own? And how can it perform a purposeless act? See, now Krishna had difficulty answering. I asked him, can you name one purposeless act that you did? No. He always had the purpose might have been nonsense, but there was still a purpose. Right? Did you ever perform a purposeless act? Can you remember that? There was no purpose. Yeah. You see? So you see, these are ridiculous statements that are being made. So this is the atheist or the naturalist's point of view. You see, they call it naturalism because they don't want to say atheist because it's too harsh, you know. So naturalists mean they're natural and you're unnatural. Right? Okay, so their first point is that human beings are the result of purposeless acts of nature. Second point. Second point is, what's wrong with nature, what's wrong with the world is we don't respect nature. Ah, that almost makes sense. This is why people are committing sins, because we don't respect nature. Which is not true. But it sounds true. And number three, how can we fix this problem? The world can be saved through environmentalism, conservation, and us coming to terms with our true nature. Whoa, that sounds so right, but it's wrong. It's so wrong. But it sounds so right. It sounds exactly what they're teaching you in school. Is that right? Yeah. You see, they're not stupid people. These are smart people, but their smartness is all demoniac. You know. Yes, Krishna.
Kind of off topic, but what would be classified as a sin?
As a what?
As a sin.
As a sin?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you that question. What would you classify as a sin? Eating strawberry shortcake? Is that a sin?
Unoffered food and eating meat.
Okay. Any other classifications? Is not a classification. Any other classifications of sin? Yes, Samart. Is it is that what it is? Yes, that's another one. Yes, Arush. Isn't that part of intoxication? Can you have another one? Yeah. What? Illicit sex? Yes. Anything else? Yes, Agastya. Gambling. And? There's something with gambling, yes. Well, speculation. Speculation is a type of It's some subset of lying. You know. Okay. So this is the naturalistic, or really the atheistic point of view. But it's what they're teaching you in school, right? That you can solve all of humanity's problems by environmentalism, conservation. In other words, what do you call that? Um, taking plastic bottles and recycling them. Yeah, recycling. Through conservation means like recycling things. And number 3 would be what happened here? One second. Something happened here. Oh, okay. I got it. Number 3 would be number 3 would be redoing this whole computer. Well, I lost it. Okay, 1 second. So the naturalist point of view would be environmentalism and recycling or conservation, and also things like composting, eliminating plastic, eliminating one-use plastic, all these things, right? Which is probably what they're trying to teach you in school. What's that? Say it out loud with the microphone.
On Friday, she was talking about like the triple bottom line.
What's the triple bottom line?
It was something about like recycling and composting.
Yeah. See, this is going to solve all the problems of the world. Is it going to solve war? Is it going to solve lust, anger, greed? Is it going to solve people from stopping meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and so forth? No. Absolutely not. That's part of the first point, which was yes, yeah. That's the big thing. Yeah, we can't live on the earth anymore. This is one billionaire. He's building modules of space stations where 1 million people can live in the space station. You know, going around the Earth or out in space, so that they're not connected to the Earth anymore. And he's trying to get investors right now. He's trying to find investors to invest. I think like $100 million so that he can get started. It's a startup. Obviously, the whole thing is what you call a crock. The whole thing is just cheating. He's just trying to cheat people out of their money. But he's got all these drawings, and he's having these big seminars with the big scientists from around the world. That this is going to be the solution to people's problems. They're all going to live on these space modules that can hold 1 million people, and they have rules. They have rules, you know. You can't believe in God, you know. You have to be a vegan, and you have to compost, and you have to recycle, and and blah blah blah, all these crazy rules, as if that's going to change things. You think it'll change lust, anger, and greed? No, no. Okay, so now you got the idea of what your homework is. You have to develop your worldview, and you have to answer these 3 questions that are at the base of, that's the core of ideas of a worldview. Okay? So, Agastya, can you read what your homework is?
So write down what your worldview is. Write down what the atheist's worldview is. Where do we come from and why are we here? Is there something wrong with the world as it is today? Can what it is that's wrong with the world be fixed?
Good. And what were some of the words we learned today? You got a list? Yeah, go ahead. What are some of the words we learned today?
Euphemism.
Euphemism.
And non sequitur.
Non sequitur. That's all? Yes, Shrestha. Conceive and perceive. Naturalist. Positive elimination. Samarth? Deductive reasoning. Is that a duck? Is it a duck? No. Okay, I want Agastya to write all these words down. Let's start from the beginning, Shasta. 1. Euphemism. You got that, Agastya? You have that, Krishna? You have that, Ritika? Ritika. Okay. What? You got them? Let me hear them. Shasta is going to confirm if it's right or wrong, and Samarth also. Go ahead.
Euphemism, non sequitur, conceive, perceive, naturalist, and deductive reasoning.
I think you missed something. Conceive and perceive.
Yeah, I said that.
You said perceive?
Yeah.
What? And then you missed? Positive, I'm sorry. Process of elimination. Okay? Got it? All right. And Advitya, you going to do your homework? You'll try. Okay, good. That's good enough. Yes, Krishna. Oh, genocide. Genocide as opposed to transfer of population. It just so happens that everybody died during that transfer, Okay, thank you very much, and we'll see you Friday night. I mean, the Gandhi event? Yeah. It went very well.